reflection. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. God doesn't always speak through thunder or lightning. Sometimes he speaks through silence, through energy, reflection, through that uneasy feeling in your gut when someone walks into your life. When a person carries darkness in their heart, you can feel it, not with your eyes, but with your spirit. Reflection. The truth is, when God wants to protect you, he doesn't always explain it. He just starts showing you signs. But too often we ignore them because we want to see the best in people. Reflection. And that's when we get hurt. So today, let's talk about the 8 dark signs God shows you when someone has bad intentions. Because when he reveals reflection, it's your job to listen. When someone enters your life, the very first thing God wants you to notice is the state of your peace. Peace isn't just the absence of chaos, reflection. It's the quiet confidence in your soul, the inner calm that lets you move through life without fear or constant doubt. When a person with bad intentions steps into your world, reflection, that peace begins to feel fragile. You may not notice it immediately, but there's a subtle shift, like the air in a room getting heavier. You start to feel restless, anxious, reflection, or off balance in ways that don't make sense on the surface. Maybe you can't put your finger on it, but after being around them, you feel drained, your thoughts scattered, reflection, your spirit unsettled. God communicates through this inner peace, and when it's disturbed, he is sending a signal, a warning to pay attention to the energy surrounding you, reflection. This isn't about paranoia, it's about discernment. He's telling you, sometimes quietly, sometimes insistently, that not everyone walking beside you is meant to walk with you, reflection. Your gut starts sending messages. That tightness in your chest, the hesitation in your mind, the sudden unease that clouds your judgment. These aren't coincidences. They are divine nudges. Reflection. You might try to rationalize it, tell yourself you're overreacting, or convince yourself that people are complicated and you should give them the benefit of the doubt. But deep down, reflection, your spirit knows the truth. God has wired you to feel what is true. If you ignore these signals, you open the door for harm, manipulation, and heartbreak. But if you listen, reflection, if you respect the quiet alarms that ring in your soul, you can protect yourself before anything irreversible happens. The disturbance in your peace is not meant to be ignored. Reflection. It's the first dark sign, the earliest whisper, telling you to pay attention, to stay alert, and to guard your heart. Reflection. Because sometimes the safest thing God can do for you is to let you feel the warning before the storm arrives. When someone enters your life, reflection, the very first thing God wants you to notice is the state of your peace. Peace isn't just the absence of chaos, it's the quiet confidence in your soul, reflection, the inner calm that lets you move through life without fear or constant doubt. When a person with bad intentions steps into your world, that peace begins to feel fragile, reflection. You may not notice it immediately, but there's a subtle shift, like the air in a room getting heavier. You start to feel restless, anxious, reflection, or off balance in ways that don't make sense on the surface. Maybe you can't put your finger on it, but after being around them, you feel drained, your thoughts scattered, reflection, your spirit unsettled. God communicates through this inner peace, and when it's disturbed, he is sending a signal, a warning to pay attention to the energy surrounding you, reflection. This isn't about paranoia, it's about discernment. He's telling you, sometimes quietly, sometimes insistently, that not everyone walking beside you is meant to walk with you, reflection. Your gut starts sending messages. That tightness in your chest, the hesitation in your mind, the sudden unease that clouds your judgment. These aren't coincidences, they are divine nudges. Reflection. You might try to rationalize it, tell yourself you're overreacting, or convince yourself that people are complicated and you should give them the benefit of the doubt. But deep down, reflection, your spirit knows the truth. God has wired you to feel what is true. If you ignore these signals, you open the door for harm, manipulation, and heartbreak. But if you listen, reflection, if you respect the quiet alarms that ring in your soul, you can protect yourself before anything irreversible happens. The disturbance in your peace is not meant to be ignored. Reflection, the first dark sign, the earliest whisper, telling you to pay attention, to stay alert, and to guard your heart. Reflection, because sometimes the safest thing God can do for you is to let you feel the warning before the storm arrives. When someone with bad intentions is around, reflection, you begin to notice a subtle but undeniable shift in who you are. It starts slowly, almost imperceptibly, like a shadow creeping across the floor at dusk. Reflection. You may catch yourself doubting your own decisions, questioning your value, or feeling smaller than you normally do. That vibrant energy, the confidence you once carried so effortlessly, reflection, starts to waver when you're in their presence. God has a way of revealing these people through the way they make you feel about yourself. Not through overt cruelty, reflection, but through subtle manipulations, constant criticism, or the energy they carry that somehow diminishes yours. You might find yourself second-guessing your instincts, flexion, apologizing for things that never required an apology, or suppressing parts of yourself just to keep the peace or avoid conflict. Every word you say, every choice you make, flexion, begins to feel filtered, restrained, constrained by the fear of how they will respond. This is God's way of signaling that this presence is unhealthy. Reflection. People sent with good intentions lift you up, encourage your growth, and inspire your spirit to expand. But those with hidden darkness do the opposite. They quietly, almost invisibly, reflection erode the foundation of who you are. You may even notice patterns repeating, moments where you compromise your values, ignore your boundaries, or sacrifice your own joy to appease them. Flexion. The truth is God designed you to thrive in environments where your spirit is nourished and respected. When he allows you to feel smaller around someone, it is not to punish you, reflection, but to awaken your discernment, to make you recognize that this person is a threat to the fullness of your life. It may take time to see clearly, and the discomfort can feel unbearable at first, reflection, but this shrinking of self is a divine alarm, a signal that separation is necessary. When you start to lose yourself around someone, it is never a reflection of your weakness, reflection. It is a reflection of the dark intentions that do not belong in your path. God whispers to your spirit through this subtle erosion, teaching you that your light, your essence, flexion, and your peace are sacred and must not be compromised for anyone. There are people who seem to take without ever giving back, who exist in your life as perpetual drains on your energy, your time, reflection, and your spirit. At first, it may not be obvious. They may be charming, persuasive, or even appear vulnerable, and you naturally respond with generosity, patience, and compassion, flexion. But over time, a pattern begins to emerge, and God allows you to see it. You realize that no matter how much you give, they never reciprocate, flexion. They call when they need something, but disappear when you need them. They demand your attention, but never offer theirs. They complain, criticize, or manipulate, reflection, yet they never extend a hand in support. Slowly, subtly, they start to consume your emotional and mental reserves. You might notice that after spending time with them, you feel exhausted, anxious, reflection, or heavy, as if some of your life force has been siphoned away. God communicates through this imbalance, reflection, showing you that this is not the type of connection meant to nurture or elevate your spirit. Healthy relationships are reciprocal. They build, strengthen, and energize both people involved. Flexion, but those with bad intentions operate differently. They leave you empty, confused, and questioning yourself while they continue on seemingly unscathed, feeding off your generosity, your trust, reflection, and sometimes even your love. The warning is in the subtle but consistent pattern. Whenever you give, it is drained. Whenever you share, it is taken for granted, reflection. Whenever you attempt to set boundaries, they are ignored or violated. God shows you this through the unease and depletion that cannot be ignored if you are truly listening to your spirit, reflection. He is not condemning you for caring. He is teaching you to recognize the difference between those who elevate your soul and those who exploit it. Reflection. This is a divine lesson in discernment, in learning to identify the people who bring genuine light into your life and those who cast shadows over it. The more you recognize this pattern, reflection, the more you will understand that your energy, your time, and your peace are sacred, and God is guiding you to protect them fiercely. It is in this awareness, in seeing who drains without giving, flexion, that you are first empowered to act, to establish boundaries, and ultimately to separate yourself from the people whose intentions are not aligned with your growth, your happiness, reflection, or your spiritual journey. God has a way of slowly lifting the mask off people who walk into your life with hidden agendas, revealing the truth in ways that are subtle but undeniable. Reflection. You won't always notice it immediately because he rarely exposes people all at once. Instead, he allows little glimpses, tiny fractures in the facade to show you who they really are. Reflection. It could be a slip of the tongue, a comment that carries hidden malice, or a reaction that exposes envy, insecurity, or selfish motives. Reflection. Maybe it's a joke that doesn't land as humor but as criticism, or a promise they failed to keep, revealing inconsistency in their character. Reflection. These small cracks are God's way of alerting you before the full weight of deception hits. They are like quiet whispers in the chaos saying, look closer. Pay attention. Reflection. Don't ignore what you are sensing. Often our minds try to rationalize, to excuse, or to justify these moments because we want to believe the best in people. We tell ourselves, reflection, maybe they didn't mean it, or I'm overreacting, but your spirit, that deep God-given intuition, knows the truth before your logic catches up. Reflection. God shows these subtle signs as a form of protection to prevent you from giving your heart, your trust, or your time to someone who intends harm. The exposure doesn't always come as drama, reflection. It comes as awareness, little revelations that, when pieced together, form a clear picture of the person's true intentions. Reflection, sometimes it's the way they handle situations when they can no longer maintain control, or the way they treat others behind closed doors. You notice patterns forming, small but consistent. Reflection. And these patterns are divine indicators that caution you against continued involvement. Ignoring them can lead to heartbreak, betrayal, or loss. Reflection. But paying attention allows you to act before the consequences arrive. God's method is patient and deliberate. He doesn't force revelation in a way that blinds you. Reflection, because part of your growth is learning to discern, to see, and to trust your own judgment when He gives you the signs. Recognizing these subtle exposures is both a warning and a blessing. Reflection, a warning that not everyone who smiles at you walks with pure intention, and a blessing because it allows you to protect your spirit, your peace. Reflection, and your life from harm that might otherwise have gone unnoticed until it was too late. ChatGPT said when someone with bad intentions is around. Reflection, you may start to notice that your life begins to feel stuck, like the natural flow of your blessings and progress has slowed down. Things that once came easily, opportunities, growth, reflection, joy, suddenly feel heavier, delayed, or blocked. You may find yourself struggling in areas where you normally excel, questioning why doors that were open before are now closed. Reflection, or feeling inexplicably drained despite your efforts. This is God's subtle way of revealing that the presence of certain people in your life is interfering with the divine plan for you. Reflection, it's not a punishment, and it's not because you're doing something wrong. It's protection. God allows you to feel this blockage so that you begin to reflect. Reflection, who is influencing your life in a negative way? Who is in your circle that may be hindering the progress God intends for you? Often, reflection, those with ill intentions do not wish to see you rise or succeed, even if they smile and speak words of encouragement. Their envy, jealousy, or desire to control quietly siphons away your energy. Reflection clouds your focus and disrupts the alignment of your blessings. The delays you feel, the struggles that appear suddenly, are divine signals. Subtle, reflection, yet undeniable, urging you to pay attention to your surroundings and the company you keep. God is teaching you to discern between those who uplift your spirit and those who drain it. Reflection, between those who celebrate your victories and those who secretly resent them. But noticing these slowdowns by acknowledging the subtle disturbances in your growth. Reflection, you can identify the people whose presence is incompatible with the path God has set for you. It's a call to action to protect your vision, your purpose, and your peace. Reflection, God may not immediately remove the person for you, but He gives you the awareness, the signals, and the inner conviction to recognize the influence that is holding you back. Reflection, listening to this guidance ensures that when the timing is right, you can separate yourself from those who hinder rather than support your spiritual, emotional, and personal growth. In essence, reflection, the slowing down of your blessings, is a quiet but powerful message to pay attention, guard your space, and honor the divine design of your life. Because some people are not meant to rise with you. Reflection, and God will not allow their interference to continue unnoticed. There is a certain feeling, subtle yet unmistakable, reflection, that God places in your spirit when someone in your life carries darkness, a holy discomfort that cannot be ignored. It isn't fear and it isn't anxiety. It's deeper than that. Reflection. It's a quiet, persistent sense that something is off, that all is not as it appears. You may notice it as a tightening in your chest, a knot in your stomach, flexion, or a gnawing in the pit of your soul. It comes when you are alone with your thoughts, when the noise of the world quiets down and your inner voice begins to speak. Flexion. God uses this feeling as a divine alarm, a signal from your higher self that warns you before your eyes can fully see and your mind can rationalize. Many people dismiss this discomfort, reflection, labeling it as paranoia, overthinking, or insecurity, but that is the exact trap that those with ill intentions rely on your doubt. When you pay attention, however, reflection, you begin to notice patterns. Situations unfold that confirm your unease, conversations carry a weight you cannot explain, and behaviors emerge that validate the quiet voice within. Reflection. This feeling is God's way of telling you, do not ignore this. Protect yourself. It is as if He whispers through your intuition, guiding your discernment. Reflection, showing you the danger that lies beneath the surface. The holy discomfort is there to awaken you, to sharpen your perception, and to fortify your soul against subtle manipulation or harm. Often, reflection, the people who trigger this response do not appear overtly threatening. They may seem charming, reasonable, or even kind, but your spirit senses what your eyes cannot yet see, the inconsistency. Reflection, the hidden motives, the potential for betrayal. If you learn to trust this inner signal, to listen when your soul protests, you can act before harm arrives. Reflection. Ignoring it leads to lessons learned the hard way, often through heartbreak, disappointment, or betrayal. Paying attention, however, allows you to step back, set boundaries, flexion, and protect your life from those whose intentions are not aligned with your well-being. This discomfort is not a burden. It is a gift. Reflection, a sacred warning that God places in your heart to guide you, to alert you. Reflection, and to ensure that you never walk blindly into the path of someone who does not have your highest good at heart. Sometimes, no matter how many signs you've noticed, reflection, no matter how clearly God has whispered warnings to your spirit, people with bad intentions remain in your life because you hesitate to act, because you hope things will change, flexion, or because your heart wants to see the good where there is none. And when that happens, God will often take matters into his own hands. He will orchestrate circumstances that create separation, reflection, sometimes in ways that feel sudden, shocking, or painful. The person may betray you, leave unexpectedly, or reveal their true nature in a way that cannot be ignored. Flexion. It may feel like loss at first, like the universe is taking something away from you, but in reality, it is divine protection. God removes what does not belong in your life. Reflection, even if your human heart struggles to understand why. This separation is a necessary act of preservation, a way to safeguard your peace, your growth, reflection, and your destiny from being sabotaged by someone whose intentions are dark. Often, it is only in hindsight that you realize how much harm was averted by the timing of this removal. Reflection, how much energy, opportunity, and emotional pain was spared by God's intervention. He does not abandon you to the consequences of others' darkness. He steps in to correct the path, flexion, to prevent you from falling further into deception, manipulation, or betrayal. This act of divine separation is not meant to punish you or teach you a harsh lesson, flexion, but to honor your worth and to protect the life he has designed for you. Sometimes the person leaves abruptly, leaving questions and unresolved feelings behind, and it may feel unfair, confusing, reflection, or even heartbreaking. Yet with time, clarity comes. You begin to see that God's hand was at work all along, that he removed the threat before it could truly harm you, reflection, that he gave you a chance to heal, grow, and redirect your energy toward those in those circumstances that align with your purpose. In this way, the separation becomes a sacred lesson, reflection, teaching you that protection often looks like loss, that endings can be blessings, and that God's guidance is perfect even when it is hidden in moments of pain or confusion. When he removes someone from your life, it is not rejection, reflection, it is revelation, a final confirmation that his wisdom surpasses human understanding and that your spirit is being shielded from the darkness that was never meant to accompany your journey. So here's the truth, flexion. God speaks not always in thunder and lightning, but in the quiet stirrings of your soul, in the subtle discomforts, in the patterns you can't ignore. Reflection. He shows you who carries darkness so you don't walk blindly into harm. Every uneasy feeling, every contradiction between words and actions, every moment you feel smaller than yourself. Reflection. Every drain on your energy, every subtle exposure, every delay in blessings, every holy discomfort, and every separation. These are not accidents. They are divine messages, flexion, whispers from heaven guiding you, protecting you, and preserving the life he has planned for you. Do not ignore them. Do not rationalize them away. Listen, trust, guard your peace. Flexion, because the people God warns you about are not mistakes waiting to be fixed. They are lessons waiting to be learned, boundaries waiting to be drawn, and in many cases, reflection, exits waiting to happen so you can walk into the fullness of what he has for you. Remember, this protection often looks like loss. Awareness feels uncomfortable. Reflection and separation may sting, but it is always a sign of divine love. Pay attention to the signs, honor your spirit, and move forward with courage. Reflection, because when God shows you the darkness in someone, he is not punishing you, he is preserving you. And when you finally walk away from those who are not meant to rise with you, reflection, you will find the peace, the growth, and the blessings that were always waiting for you, untouched by the shadows of another. Your spirit knows the truth. Trust it. Act on it. Reflection, and watch how your life transforms when you honor the signs God gives you.